Hello, everybody, and welcome to Getting Started with Your School's website. I am your host, Ryan Clancy, and I am the Client Success Manager here at Educational Networks. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your busy days to join us for today's workshop. Now, as with all of our trainings, we have a game plan for what exactly we'll be looking at. We're going to start today by going in and giving everybody some time to go in and to sign into their accounts on their school's website. This is something that we encourage, as with all of our workshops, you'll be given time to go in and actually work on your own sites. It's a great opportunity to have questions answered. From there, we'll embark on a brief site tour. It's a good opportunity just to see where everything's located at. From there, what we're going to be taking a look at is we're going to see how to work with a page editor. This is great to see because in a lot of cases, the majority of your content is able to be edited with the page editor as they are contained within departments and sections in our pages. From there, we're going to see how to link a new department to the navigation menu, how to go in and to work with user accounts, add to news and announcements, as well as calendars. Now remember, everybody, that questions are encouraged throughout. To ask questions, what you want to do is click on the little bubble icon that will be located in the lower right corner of your screen. All right, everybody, with that said, let's go ahead, let's get signed in. Now, how you sign in to Educational Network CMS to SchoolSite Pro, it's different, but it's cool, because you no longer have to go to a separate admin site. You get to log in right on the live site. Now, here's what you want to do. Anytime you're going in and you're using a PC, you'll want to go in and double click the control key on your keyboard. If you're using a Mac, instead you'll double click Command. And what that will do, that's going to go in and pull up the login window for us. Now, even if we're not sure of our password or username, that's okay. What we can do is we can go in and select Forgot Password, and we can request a password reset email. That password reset email is going to contain both a username and our temporary password as well. Now, what will happen, everybody, is that once we've signed in, how we'll know that we've signed in is that at the bottom of the browser window, you're going to see this toolbar. And it's actually that toolbar that's going to go in and give you access to edit everything on the website that you're going to need to edit. All right, everybody, let's go ahead. Let's take a few minutes to allow everybody to go in and to sign in. Now, in the meantime, if you have questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help. We'll continue here, everybody, very, very shortly. All right, everybody. Now that everyone's had a chance to go in and had a chance to sign in, let's go ahead and start our site tour. Now, everybody, this is the part of the training here where you can kind of sit back and relax. With the site tour, what we recommend is just observing what I have here on my screen share. With the way that this is laid out, this is going to make it a lot easier to go in and to see where everything's located at. Just remember too, any questions you have, everybody, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Let's get started, everybody. Starting over from the right-hand side of our screen, we're going to have these different buttons. Now, the first one we come across is this button. Now, this will either have your profile photo or a placeholder button. But regardless, this is where you're going to go to be able to update your account information. Things such as changing your email address, updating your password, and going in and adding a profile photo as well. The neat thing is when you add a profile photo, that's going to go in and replace the placeholder button, just as I have here. Now, just to the left of that, what we also have is our accessibility checker, and this is cool. This is a great way to be able to go in and check to see if there's anything that needs to be adjusted for accessibility purposes. Now, if you press that and see this, depending on what you come across, What you may need to do is send in a tech support ticket, and we'll be happy to go ahead and assist with going in and adjusting that. Now, in other cases, for example, with like the page editor, when you go in and you press that, it may be things that you're able to go in and adjust directly. For example, going in and adding on alternative text. Next to that, we have another button that kind of looks like a grid, but nonetheless, it's important to note. You got some key areas of the site here. So one of them here is the help desk. This is where you're going to go in and be able to reach out to our tech support team, a very, very important part of your website. Our tech support team, they're great for help with questions. They can also assist with, for example, if you ever want to rename a navigation tab, you want to grant someone admin access, or you want to go in, as an example, maybe swap out one of the navigation buttons we have here. Now, actually, just underneath that, we have another button. We have our settings here. This is important to note as well because you got some great options. For example, did you know that your site can link with Facebook, X, and Instagram? Here's the cool thing about that. You link those channels to your website, and then you are able to go in and post website content right over to your social media. And you're allowed to use this with key features of your site. For example, news and announcements. This can be a great way to go in and save time. Looking over towards the lower left corner of the screen, we have our main menu button. And the nice thing about this is that everything on here is all categorized. And as you go in and look at this here, looking specifically at information and photos and multimedia, just in these two categories is where you're going to find the majority of your homepage. This includes homepage staples such as our news, our calendars, photo albums, the rotating images you see, even the marquee as well. Now, that said, the most visible part of the site is found in a slightly different area, and that's your homepage alert. Where you'll find this is actually just part of messaging. And what the great thing is that when this is active and when someone first visits your homepage, it's going to be the very first thing that they see. So it's perfect, for example, when you're looking to drive enrollment for the next school year or share a reminder about an upcoming event. Now, just after messaging, we have operations, and we got some really cool stuff here. For example, you have our web forms module. Nice thing about this is that these forms can be customized. You're able to use a drag and drop construction format to go in and to be able to build them out. Now, what's also neat as well is by doing so, you're able to customize your forms as well. You got a wide variety of different types of fields, multiple choice questions, and the cool thing is as well is that forms, along with the ability to have online stores and donation funds, all three of these modules can accept credit card payments as well. Once we leave operations, we find sections of the website here. This is important because most of the time, this is where the bulk of the content on your website is going to be located. As an example, you're able to go in here and you can create everything from grade level pages, for example, for your 5th grade team as an example. That's neat because it allows your grade level teams, different departments as well, they can kind of have, it's like they have their own areas of the site, which is really neat. They can have their own calendars, photo albums, and be able to use the page editor as well. This also works well for things like supply list pages, principal message pages, many, many different things. And this today is going to be our starting point. After sections, we find where it says people, and this is important to note as well. You have where you get to go in and not only create user accounts, you can also customize what each staff member on your team has the ability to edit. User access is something you really get to go in and customize. And in many cases, you may be just giving access to a couple of features. Maybe as an example, the photo album, maybe news and announcements too. At the same time as well, you can also go in and have staff members, you can add additional admins. Now, To do this, what you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to create their user account. From there, you're going to want to send in a ticket to our tech support team, and we'd be happy to assist with granting admin access for your staff member. We're brought to the last stop on our Grand Circle tour, everybody. Important though, you have the navigation menu. This allows you to make very specific changes with the drop downs here on your navigation. You're able to go in and able to add, edit, and remove links. And this is especially important. We're going to see that when we create a new department today, how it's important that we make sure that we add our new link. And also, if you are interested in accepting payments, well, this is where you're going to be able to go in and you'll be able to set up merchant accounts as well. You have the option actually to be able to set up a Stripe account right within the website itself. And this will allow you to be able to accept payments with stores, forms, and the donations module as well. All right, everybody, this right here wraps up our site tour. And what that means is it's time for us to go in and to start our very first demo. What we're going to go in and take a look at today is we're going to start with the page editor. But first, it's really important to note how departments and sections can be so many different things on our website. A perfect example of this, as an example, is if we go under About Us on Green Tech and we head over to the mission statement page. What we see here is how this section is set up really as just kind of a one-page section here. This would also be the case for something as an example, such as like a supply list page as well. Maybe a page for you to go in and to post your student handbook as well. At the same time, departments and sections work remarkably well for departments such as your athletics, admissions, enrollment, grade level teams as well. Let's take a look at Green Tech's athletics page. Now, where we're going to find this, I'm going to go over to parents, and I'm going to start by going in and going under athletics. Now, as we see here, Green Tech's athletics has been set up. It's split up into multiple pages, and even has the team here have their own calendar as well. And looking at this as well, we see how we have our page editor, and it gives us the ability to be able to update content right on the page itself. We scroll down further, and we see how we have a variety of different content blocks, and these are what's going to allow us to be able to customize these pages too. Let's start today, everybody, by going in and seeing how to add documents. Now, the cool thing is that the page editor gives you 3 different ways for you to go ahead and do that. Today, I'd like to focus on how we can go in and essentially hyperlink documents. So essentially what we're doing is we're linking a document to anchor text. Now, when we're going in and doing this, everybody, and anytime we add a hyperlink for that matter, we have to keep in mind that there's best practices for accessibility, for good reason too. You see, when someone visits the site and they're using a screen reading program, what happens is that screen readers not only recognize that there's links on the page, but they recognize the text that the URL, or in our case here, the document has been added to. Because of that, we want to make sure that the text we're actually essentially adding our link to, it's descriptive. Now, 9 times out of 10, what that's going to mean is it's going to be the exact title of the web page or the document we're linking. This is helpful because it allows the screen reader to clearly communicate the link that's going in and being open. Let's go in, everybody, and take a look at this a little bit further. I'm going to say here that we want to go in and add on our student athlete contract. So this means I'm typing exactly that out. I type out student athlete contract. From here, what I want to go ahead and do, As my next step, much like I'm going in and I'm hyperlinking a website, I'm going to go in, highlight over our text, which is going to go in and bring up our pop-up toolbar. We see we have many options, but if I want to add a link to a website or a document, I need to click on that chain link icon on the very right side of the toolbar. I open this up, and what we see here is we have these different options. What I need to do next is I need to go in and switch this to document. Now we got two ways to add our file. One is we can either drag and drop our file, or we go in, we press select file. I find the document that I want to go in and add. I see it here. I press open. Now everybody, with just those few steps, we've successfully linked this document, and most importantly, we've done it in a way that is accessible. Now, of course, with any type of link, we want to go in and make sure that we go in and we test this. But there's something to note about testing links on the page editor. Anytime you have a link that is contained within a content block, and you'll know that it's in a content block because you get this blue outline, you'll notice if I try to open it up, nothing happens. And that's okay, that's by design. That's to allow you to be able to edit the link later on if needed. We need to first switch to test mode. To do that, we want to go in and click on the red feather button we have just towards the lower right corner of the screen. Red's going to mean that you're in edit mode. But once you've clicked on it and the button's grayed out, we know now that we're in test mode. Now we can't edit anything in test mode, but certainly we can click on the document and we're able to go in and view our file. But what if instead we want to go in and delete this document? Now, there's something to note about this too. Now, of course, the first thing we're going to do is we want to go in and delete the anchor text, right? Now, the thing is, it looks like the file's gone. However, if I refresh my screen, what we see here is that now we have gone in. We're able to see how the document's actually still here. So you see, there's still an additional step that we have to take care of. That is we need to go down to Files. I hold my mouse over the file name, and then from here, I'm going to go in and click on the trash bin icon. We've seen everybody, the first part of really using the page editor, going in and adding documents. Now, we're going to have the chance to go in and see how we can create a brand new department from scratch. What I'm going to say here, everybody, is that Green Tech High is in need of a brand new science department. We want to remember that regardless as to the type of department or section we're creating, the steps to do so will always be the same. Our first step is we go over to the main menu button on the lower left corner of our screen. From here, we're going to go up to sections. Now, when we go to sections, we're going to have the submenu appear. This submenu is absolutely an alternative way that you can access every department, section, and page on your website so you can edit them. One thing to note is that for the most part, these different categories are all going to do the exact same things. Here's the big difference. Everything here from grade levels to clubs and activities can have essentially a public-facing directory of all the departments or sections that you add in each of these categories. Whereas that's not something that would be directly offered by maintenance departments or extra sections. In this case, I'm going to say that I want to create a brand new science department on Green Tech High. And in this case, I'm going to add this as part of extra sections. I click extra sections. Once I'm in extra sections, or any department category for that matter, we want to remember that there's only 3 steps we have to take to create our new department. Our first one is we're going to go in and press this add button. Our next step, we want to go in and we want to add our title. So in this case, I'm going to go in and title this as Green Tech Sciences. Perfect. I press save, and that is it. Once we see this next screen, this indicates to us the department's been created successfully. Now, when you're ready to build out your department, you can go in and use this Edit This Section button. I'm going to show you an easier way. That is to simply go in, go over to the main menu, go right back to Sections, and then back to the category you just added to. This is easier because there's far less steps you have to go through, far less pages you have to go through than pressing the Edit This Section button. I'm locating our new department. I see it here. I click on it, and now I'm exactly where I want to be. The department's been created, but in order for us to go in and to start adding content, we got to add that first page. My first step is I'm going to go in and press Add Page. And when we do so, we're going to have all these options. Every department and section can have its own calendar, photo album, video gallery. In this case, though, what I'm interested in using is our page editor. The page editor so happens to be our default option, and this is really important to note. Where it says other, this really means it's the page editor. We don't have to switch options, we just need to add a title. In this case, I'm going to title this as the home page. I press Create Page. Right away then, we are brought immediately into the page editor. Now, to start with, we are going to have a text block that is here, and it's ready for us to go in and ready for us to use. I'm going to start by going in and pasting in our department introduction. Now, the thing to note is that pasting with the page editor is a little bit different. First, let's go ahead and copy our intro. How this is different is you'll notice that when you right-click, there is no option to paste. All good though. We can still paste this in. Just like we would on an email, we're going to use our keyboard. We want to press Control-V whenever we're using a PC, and then Command-V whenever we're using a Mac. I do just that. We now see that we've gone in. We've successfully added on our intro. From here, just like before when we saw how to add documents, I highlight over the text, and we see how we have all of these different formatting options. This is going to include a selection of fonts, as well as a selection of ADA compliant colors as well. But speaking of accessibility, there's more we can do here. What I'm about to show you, the cool thing about this is it's something that everyone has likely had an opportunity to do at one time or another. Adding on headings. You've likely done this when you're creating documents. You may have already done this on your website too. Here's the cool thing about headings. When you add them, it is just like you're adding a landmark onto your page. This makes the page easier to navigate with the screen reader for a few different reasons. For one, most screen readers will allow their users to tab to different headings on the page. Also, the headings, because they kind of serve as landmarks, they can indicate what the content in that area is about. It makes it much easier to find specific content on a page. Now, as a general rule, just as you would on documents here, you want to go in and go in order when you're adding on headings. I'm going to start by first going in and typing out our first heading. We'll type out Welcome to Sciences. From here, I go in, I highlight over the text, which is going to bring up this pop-up toolbar. My next step to add this as a heading is I want to go over to this drop down on the left. Keeping in mind we want to go in order, and it is our first heading, we'll go in and set this as heading 1. Perfect. Now, everybody, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you something that is one of the most important parts of our training. It also happens to be one of the coolest. Adding on content blocks. And the reason this is cool is because it's going to allow you to go in and to be able to customize your pages. It'll allow you to add on photos. You can also add on content blocks that allow you to embed PDFs. Here's the thing. Regardless as to the type of content block you're adding, your steps to do so are always going to be the same. Step 1, we want to go in and take our mouse. From here, what we want to do is we want to go in and bring this inside of an existing content block on the page. You'll be able to do this with any content block on your page. Next, I go in, I right click, and depending on where I want this to go, I can go in, I can choose either insert above or insert below. Now, I'm going to select insert below, and in this case, what I want to add on is a staff bio. Now, to do this, I'm going to go ahead and locate it. First, let's see all the different blocks we have. So we see how we have ones that offer photos, we have quotes, tables, the embed PDF option. I want to use one of the options that allows us to add on photos. Now, in this case, we have 2 perfect options for adding on a staff bio, one with the photo on the left, one with the photo on the right. All I need to do to add this on is I'm simply going to go in and click on the block, and almost immediately it drops right onto the page. It's ready for me to go in and ready for me to use. Now, to start with, I want to go in and add on our staff member's photo. We're going to add a photo here for Mr. Evans. He's the lead science teacher at Green Tech. To add on the photo, what I want to do, I can either drag and drop the photo right onto the placeholder photo, or I click on the placeholder photo, press change image, and this is really something that's kind of like a preference thing. It just depends on what you find to be easier. I find the image here that I want to use, I see it, and I press open. Now, in most cases, you're going to need to make some adjustments to your image. This is definitely that case here. Now, and a lot of times when you're going in and using the option with the photo on the right, you're going to want to start by clicking on the image. You want to kind of drag it further into the content block itself. Now, we're ready to resize. Here's the thing. You got 2 ways to do this. One is you can use this slider here, which controls zoom, but you also have this red outline. This is going to control the size of the image on the page. But the trick is to use these together. Because if I go in right now and try to just zoom out, I can only zoom out so far until I've gone in and I first reduce the height as well as the width of the image itself. Now I do that, I see that we've successfully gone in and resized the image. Perfect. We can go in and add on his staff bio information. Let's start first with the heading. We'll go in and title this here as Meet Mr. Evans. Keeping in mind that we want to go in order, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go in and highlight over the text. That brings up this pop-up toolbar. I go back to the drop-down on the left side of the toolbar, and in this case, we'll set this next heading as heading 2. After this, we can go in and copy and paste his bio information. Perfect. Now is a good opportunity for us to go in and to press that save button. Looking at our first page, you know what? It's looking pretty good. But one thing that I'm starting to see here is that really we have no spacing, no padding between the two blocks we have. That's okay. We can fix this. Now, whenever you're adjusting spacing between two different content blocks, you want to remember you're always going to do this with the lower of the two blocks. Here's what you want to do. You're going to start by taking your mouse and you want to go in and bring this just towards the top of the lower block. From here, we go in, we bring this down just ever so slightly. Perfect. What we now see is that our spacing, it's a lot better now. Now this of course means we do need to go in and press that save button as well. Cool. Our new page is looking pretty good. But we want to add more to this department as well. I'm going to say that we want to add a page to share course descriptions for sciences. Now, we want to remember that whenever we're adding a new page from the page editor itself, steps are always the same regardless as to whether we're going in, we're using the page editor again as we will here, or for example, we want to use a calendar. Here's what we want to do. We're going to start by taking our mouse and we want to bring this just over towards the blue arrow that we have just to the left of the page title. Thing to note here is that you can absolutely use this text field to go in and to update your page title. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to click on the arrow. I go to this section and I'm going to select new page. Now we can go in and choose from any of these options. So we see how we can add a calendar or a photo album. I want to continue using the page editor, so I'm not switching options. I just add the title for the page. Perfect. I press create page and two things are going to happen. One, we're brought onto the page editor for the second page, but we also start to see how we have this menu start to build out on the left. And this is something here that is going to happen largely automatically. Now, in this case, I'm going to want to say that I want to add on a course description for marine biology, but I want to do so by embedding a PDF. Now, in this case, we're going to add this document. We'll start by adding on the content block we need. Just like we did with Mr. Evans' bio, we're going to start by taking our mouse. We bring this inside of the existing content block. From here, we'll right-click, and depending on where we want this to go, we can choose either Insert Above or Insert Below. In this case, I'm going to go in and select Insert Above. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the window where we have the Embed option. Perfect. Just like before, I'm going to click on the block and it drops right onto the page. Now, to go in and to add our syllabus here, our description for marine biology, I'm just going to simply take our mouse, and this is really cool. All you got to go in and do is you hold your mouse over the block. You're going to press Upload New PDF. And now from here, we can go in. We find the document we want to use. I see it here. And I press Open. With just those few steps, we've gone in and we've embedded a PDF. Now, one thing that's important to note if you need to do this is that you can go in and expand your embed block out a little bit. First thing I'm going to do before that is I'm going to make sure that I go in and I right click and delete this block beneath it. We really don't need that there. Now to go in and to expand this out, what we do, now we really probably wouldn't need to do this in this case, but what we can do is we can go in as we take our mouse, we bring this just towards the bottom of the block, and we can expand this out as needed. Now that would be more needed, of course, if this was zoomed in further, of course. This is looking good. All I'm going to do now is just go in and press save. Our new department is looking pretty good. Now, before we go in and link this to the navigation menu, we got some great options that can actually help us check our page and really go in and make sure that this is set to go. One option that we have is this button here that allows us to check. It's our accessibility checker. It allows us to check for items on the site that need to be resolved accessibility wise. Let's press this and see what this says. Okay, perfect. So we see we have a couple things that we need to go in and fix. One thing in particular is we see that we have an option here, or a suggestion, I should say, to add on alt text for this image. Let's take a look at the recommendation button before we fix that and see what that says. We see that they're suggesting the same thing. Now, adding alt text is a great step to take to help with accessibility because it gives us the opportunity to share about a photo that will allow us to really share this information with somebody using a screen reader. Now, to add on alt text, what you want to do is you want to start by right-clicking on the image, select accessibility, and you'll have the following options. Both options are important. Now, our job is to decide which option we should use. So remember, adding alt text, it's a great step to make your site more inclusive and also more accessible. However, there are some cases actually where it's better not to add alt text, and I'll explain why. Now, what we need to go ahead and determine is whether or not this photo, it can really be considered part of the main content on the page. Does it contribute to the main purpose of the page? I would say it does. And the reason for that is we have Mr. Evans' bio next to it. So definitely it directly contributes to part of the content on the page. So it's certainly relevant. So this will definitely be a case to add on text. But an important note about marking as decorative. This is an important option as well. Now, what this does, when you use this option, you're telling the screen reading programs to go in and skip over the photo. You want to use this in cases where you have an image where, and maybe it's a great image, but really it's more aesthetic and purpose on the page. So it doesn't really contribute to the main purpose of the page. Now, the reason you want to do this is if you add alt text for an image like that, you're taking away from the focus of the page itself. You're taking away from the main content on there, which is something we generally want to avoid for that. Now, in this case over here, what we're going to do is we are going to add alt text. It is a good case to add that on. Now, what we want to do when adding alt text is we want to describe the image in about 1 to 2 sentences. But the key too is we want this to also be relevant. So for a staff photo, I would say it's a little bit different. I would say the best thing to add on is Mr. Evans' name. So we'll type out David Evans. And then also his job title. We'll go in and say he's the lead science teacher. And what happens is that when someone visits using a screen reader, this will be read out. This way we can share this information with the person who's using the screen reading program. I'm going in, I press apply, press save, and if I click on the recommendation button, the one here that looks like an emoji, that's exactly what we want to see it, indicating that our page looks good. All right, everybody, let's go ahead. Let's take some time to allow everybody to go in and to work on their own pages. Let's take 5 minutes. Now, in the meantime, if you have questions, please feel free to go in and ask. To ask questions, what you're going to want to do is you'll want to go back to your Google Meets tab, and you're going to want to click on the chat button. You'll find that in the lower right corner of your screen. You'll see a little button that actually looks like a chat window, and I'll be happy to assist with any questions you have. We'll continue here very, very shortly. All right, everybody. Let's now see how we can link our new science department to the main navigation menu on the website. Now, this is important to note. Whenever you create a new department, section, or page, it is important to note that it is always an additional step to link it to the main navigation. Neat thing is, it's very easy to do. What we want to remember is that the navigation menu module's functionality is rather specific. What it's going to allow you to do is to be able to add, edit, and remove links from any of the existing drop downs that you're seeing here. What that does mean is if you ever want to rename the tabs or you want to update a secondary navigation area, such as these buttons we have below our rotating images, these are things that can definitely be done, but because they're coded into the design of the site, it's something that must be done by our team. We'll be happy to help. Best way forward, you want to send in a ticket to our tech support team and we'll be happy to assist. But let's take a look now at see how to link sciences to academics. My first step is I'm going to go over to the main menu button. From here, I'm going to go to where it says Website Admin and select the navigation menu. Once I've opened this next window, my next step is that I want to find exactly where I want this to go. Now, in this case, I know that I want to showcase sciences. So in this case, I think where I want to add this to is I want to have it just go underneath the main academics tab. Here's what I want to do. Next, I want to go in and click on the arrow that's on the right side of the window. From here, my next step is I want to choose either add link above, add link below, or as a sub item. Now, if you choose the sub item option, what that means is the new link you're adding is going to go off to the side of that main drop down. In this case, though, I'm selecting add link above. What we have now is this next window. We do see that we have two text fields here that are available to us. Here's the thing. It's rather rare that we would ever need to go in and to fill these out manually. The reason is that we have this really neat find page function. This happens to have every page, department, section, and module on your site all mapped out. Basically, we can choose from a drop down from those items, and what happens is when we do so, that will fill in the fields for us. Let's take a look at this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by pressing Find Page. Now, since I'm going in and linking a department or section, what I want to do next is I need to go in and find where it says Departments. And I actually need to open up a second drop down. I see Departments. I'm locating Sciences. Looking for Green Tech Sciences. I see it here. What that has done now is that has filled in these fields for us. What I need to do next is press Save. Once we press Save, we're going to be prompted to go in and to test these changes, and it's important we do that. I'm going in, I'm clicking on the test link. Now I'm going over to Sciences. I'm making sure that this goes to exactly where I want it to, and I see that indeed it does. Now, what we want to do is we want to make this change public and we want to save it. We're going to do that by pressing the Apply button. I press OK. Once I refresh the screen, now I go over to Academics and see we've successfully linked Sciences. Something else to consider when you're creating a new department and section is that you want to ensure the staff members who are going to be maintaining it have the access they'll need. Let's see how to not only edit an existing user account, but also how we can go about creating a new user account completely from scratch. Anytime we're working with user accounts, we're going to always start by going first to the main menu button we have in the lower left corner of the screen. From here, we're going to want to go over to where it says People, and we'll want to select Users. Something to note is that when we do open up this window, we're going to notice that we have users here who are listed in red, but also users who are in blue. Anybody here who's listed in red is going to have admin access. That is going to mean that pretty much they're going to be able to edit everything on the website. Whereas anybody who's listed in blue, by default, their access is very limited. It's limited to signing in and to creating a teacher or staff page. But we can go in and update that. We can absolutely customize the access of every single staff member on our team. Let's look at this more closely. Let's say that as an example that we want to go in and update Mr. MacArthur's account. I start by clicking on his name. The first screen that we're going to see is going to have some options to edit. For example, we could delete his account, add a profile photo, and change his password. But if I want to, for example, update his email address, or I want to give him some more editing access for the site, I access those options by pressing Update. Something to consider is that the same form we're seeing now to edit an existing user account will be, for the most part, the same form we'll see when we see how to create a new user account, with some differences. Now, to start with, we're going to see where we can go in and update Mr. MacArthur's basic account information, things like his email address and name, and we're going to look at this more closely when we see how to create a new user account from scratch. Scrolling down further, now we're getting to see where we can go to update his account information. More specifically, what he can edit. What we see here is where we can give him access to edit the main modules on the site. These are going to be things, for example, like news and announcements, but other items too, such as calendars, as well as the photo album. And the key here is that we can give access to edit as many or as few of the modules as we like. We can really go in and tailor the editing access to exactly what every staff member is going to need. Now, something else that we can do as well. Let's say we have a staff member that we want them to have admin access. Definitely something that can be done. What you're going to want to do first is create their user account. Once that's complete, you'll want to go in and send in a ticket to our tech support team to request admin access for that staff member, and our team will be happy to assist. Scrolling down further, we're going to see where we can give access to the departments and sections. Now, giving access to a department or section is a little bit different than the modules because here we have two options compared to just the one for the modules. Now, the only option that we absolutely have to check to allow someone to edit a section or department on the site is edit access. That's the only one that's actually required. Now, the option that's to the left of that where it says staff, that's something very different. In fact, if you check staff, that doesn't give any sort of editing access. Instead, what's going to happen is that this will take that staff member's user account and essentially makes it so that they're listed in that department as a staff member. Essentially, this will start creating a mini staff directory. Scrolling down further, we're going to see we have another couple of options here, and these are important to note. You're going to have the option to temporarily disable a user account, but also the option to fully delete a user account. Now, in cases where you're going in, you're using teacher pages, let's say you have a staff member go on a temporary leave of absence, or maybe they're going to help out another school temporarily. Cases like that, it's better to just disable their user account. Reason is if you delete their user account, what that's going to do in turn is not only delete their account, but it will also delete any teacher pages they've created. When they return, not only would you need to create a new user account for them, but they would need to start their teacher and staff pages over from scratch. Adding a new user account is pretty much the same deal. As I mentioned, for the most part, we're using the same form here. We start just like before, we're going to go to the main menu button. From here, we're going to go to where it says people, and we're going to select users. But instead, we're going to want to go in and press add user. When creating a new user account, there's only 4 required fields that you need to go in that you're actually required to fill in. What those are is you're going to want to create a username for them, add on their first and last name, and then finally create a password for them as well. Everything else on this form is completely optional, but you're going to find that there's items here that will make things easier. As an example, I always suggest that you include your staff member's email address. What this is going to do is, for one, it creates a contact form on their profile, as long as the settings are so enabled, that will allow parents to go in and actually send messages to your staff members. But also, it's going to allow your staff to go in and to be able to request password reset emails as well. But also, in most cases, we're going to want to make sure that our staff members are all on the staff directory. In particular, when you're adding a staff member individually, the main way that you'll add them to the staff directory is you'll choose a category from the drop down here that is just to the right of where it says staff list. That's especially important for teacher pages. The staff directory is the main way that those teacher pages are going to be accessed. Scrolling down further, we're going to see, just like before where we can give access to the main modules, remember you can give access to as many or as few of these modules as you like. Scrolling down further, just like before too, we're going to see where we can give access to our departments and sections as well. Once we finish deciding what we would like our new staff member to go in and to be able to edit, and we press save, we are going to want to make sure that we share their login information with them. It is important to note that when you are creating a new user account, that their login information will not be sent automatically to them. So it's just something we always want to make sure that we share with them. All right, everybody. Not only have we seen so far how to create an entire new department page, but we've also seen as well how to link it to navigation and how to grant editing access to our staff, along with creating a new user account as well. Let's take a look now at a couple of great ways that you can go in and share information, starting with the news and announcements module on your site. News is a fantastic feature on your website because it is a highly visible part of your site. It makes great use of that visibility. For one, it's going to allow you to have a cover photo with your post, but also you can post a summary. The summary is great for those details that you want to make sure that parents and students are going to see because it will have that homepage visibility. Now, the neat thing is that when we are adding to news, it's very easy to do. Like many of the features on your site, including calendars, even when you're adding a video, adding to news primarily consists of filling out a form. Let's see this for ourselves. I'm going to say as an example that Green Tech is announcing new after-school programs. First step, we're going to go over to the main menu button we have in the lower left corner of the screen. From here, we're going to go over to Information and select News. Once on this next screen, Our next step is we want to go in and press Add News. At this point, we're going to really be able to see how it is, just like we're going in and we're filling out a form. I'm going to start by writing out our headline as well as our summary. Both of these here will go on the home page. What's important to note about this here is that both do have a character limit for what appears on the home page. So in particular, I like to keep that headline nice and simple. In this case, I'm writing about new after school programs. New after school programs will work perfectly. Just going to go ahead and fix this right here. Perfect. Now we have where we can write out a summary. This here's an opportunity because let's say as an example, you're announcing an upcoming event. You can use this to share the details of the event, what's being offered at it, to encourage people to attend. That's perfect. For example, if you're hosting like an in-person fundraiser, or you're maybe sharing about the first football game of the year. But for something like this, where I'm announcing new after school programs, new activities, maybe new academics that are being offered, I would probably just go in and use the summary field to list those out. I'm going over to where I have this stored. I'm copying over the text I want to add in the summary field. And I'm going in and I'm pasting it in. We're now ready to go in and to add on our main news story. We're going to do this by using this text editor. Now, this text editor that we're seeing here is important to note because it's something that we're going to see throughout the website. Now, regardless as to where you see it, for the most part, it's going to work the same. News and announcements actually has the option to have emojis here. So this is something here that's exclusive to this. Something that makes this text field different from when you're writing out an email is what you need to do when you're pasting text in here. What that is, before you paste anything in here, just be sure you go in and switch this over to plain text. The reason that you want to do that is if you paste under rich formatting, where you have those options, later on that's going to make it so that this is more difficult to format. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to where I have my news story stored. I see it, and I go in, I copy, and I paste the text in. Once I've pasted this in, I can go in and get those formatting options back by simply going in and switching over to rich formatting. Now, I can go in and add files to my news post. The same way I add files to an email is exactly what I'm doing here. What's cool is if you add a photo or image, you can make that go on the home page. Now, the cool thing is that once you add a photo or image, what'll happen is it will go in now and post on the home page. You used to have an additional step you had to take to make that happen. I'm going to go in, press Choose Files. I find the photo I want to use. From here, I'm going in, I press Open. Perfect. Now, we see this gray border. We know that it is going on the home page. But let's say that maybe you didn't want to have a photo go on the home page, and that's okay too. All you need to do to stop it from going on the home page is to simply click on the photo. Once you no longer see that gray border, you know that that is no longer set as the cover photo. In this case, though, I definitely want to have this go on the home page. Our news post is looking pretty good. Check this out. Now, we're about ready to post this, but we have a neat option here. We can go in and post this to our social media. In fact, at the same time we are updating our site. This really makes news and announcements, along with the ability that your site has to link to social media, a great time saver. In this case, I'm going to say as an example that I want to go in and post to Facebook. All I need to do, and we could actually post to both if we like, Today, though, I think I'll just post to Facebook. But basically, what we do is we'll go in, we check this box, and what's going to be posted specifically is the headline, summary, and then the cover photo from our news post as well. Now, one thing to note is that you can go in and also edit the text in here. In particular, for X, there is a character limit that you want to keep in mind for that. But our news post is looking pretty good. All I need to do now to post this to the site is I simply press save. Now, if I refresh my screen, I get to see we've successfully added our new post where we're going to see our headline, summary, and if I click on our new post, we're able to see our entire news story. News is a fantastic way to share information. Well, we have other options available to us, and that includes the ability to have a calendar on our website. Let's take a look at that. Now, in many ways, calendars is very similar to what we had worked with news and announcements. Just like with news, when you add to calendars, it's really just like you're filling out a form. Now, it's important to note that there's actually another way you can update your calendar, which is to go in, you can actually link your Google Calendar and choose for the Google Calendar to update the site calendar for you. That is another great way that you can save time, and that way you're not having to update multiple calendars. If that's an option you're interested in, be sure to check out our tutorial that we actually have on this YouTube channel that goes over how to link your Google Calendars. In this case, so let's see for today how we can link it, or we can add to the calendar through the website. Step one is we go to the main menu, and just like news, we're going to go right up to information, and we're going to select calendars. From here, all I need to do is go in, I'm going to press add event. And what we're going to see here, everybody, is that the form, it's similar. It's not exactly like the one on news and announcements, but there's definitely a lot of similarities. For example, we have that same text editor that we had worked with previously. Now I'm going to start, and I'm going to say we're planning a family picnic. I'm going to say we add the title on here. And then after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on the date and time. So in this case, I'm going to say that this is going to be a week from Saturday on the 26th. And I definitely want to go in and add on times for this as well. So to do that, I'm unchecking the all day box. And then I'm just going in. I think a good time to host a family picnic, especially here on the East Coast during summer, probably around 4 p.m. And then we'll say to 5 p.m. Actually, no, we probably want to make that a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and say till 7 p.m. Perfect. We also have a field that we can add the location, so we'll say that this is being held on the football field. After this, you're going to have the option to go in and to add on a description for your event. We're using that same text editor, meaning if we're going in and we're going to paste our information in, we want to first switch to plain text. And I'm going over to where I have this stored. I copy the text, paste this in. Now I can get these formatting options back simply by going in and pressing rich formatting. And that way I can make any changes here that I like. In this case, we'll leave that be. Also, you're going to have where we can go in and add a file here as well. I press choose files. I definitely want to add a photo here. I want to make this post a little bit more visually engaging. I find the photo I want to use, and I press open. Just like with news, calendars is another feature that you can share content from your website right over to your social media. I definitely want to do that. In this case, I'm can also say I want to just post to Facebook, so I'm making sure to check this box. The information that this is going to share specifically is going to be the date, time, and location of your event, along with a cover photo and a link back to your website as well. I press save. Now I refresh my screen and I see that we've successfully added on our new event. We're able to view our entire event details, all the event details, once we click on the title here as well. All right, everyone. I want to thank you all today for joining us for today's workshop, our Getting Started with Your School's Website workshop. Now, I want to mention that I'm here to help with any questions you have, but I also want to share about our tech support team. They're a great resource as well to go in and to get help with questions, and they're also able to assist with different requests on the website as well. Some of these requests we've talked about include going in and giving a staff member admin access. Along with that, for example, if you want to make changes to the tabs on your navigation menu as an example. Now, what we ask everybody is that for any request that you have for tech support, for any changes you'd like made to the site, we do ask for verification purposes that you send these requests in as a tech support ticket. The main way here on the CMS that you're going to access your tech support tickets is you're going to start by going first over to the grid button that you're seeing here over on the right hand side of the screen. From here, what you're going to go in and do next is you're going to select Help Desk. Your next step is you'll go in, you'll want to select Create a Ticket. And essentially, what we want to do is fill in the field. Now, in this case, Green Tech's been set up with multiple maintenance departments, so I want to make sure that I change this to ensure that it's set to go to Educational Networks Technical Support. After that, I'm going to want to type out my email. And you also have the option to add a phone number. I highly recommend this because sometimes our team will go ahead, will want to call you because we may have questions about your request. We want to make sure that we complete it as you intended for that request to be fulfilled. And this will allow our team to more directly reach you. We also have this message field. This is important. We want to make sure when we're sending in a ticket to be as descriptive as possible. An example of this, let's say as an example, you would like us to maybe embed a video, maybe a video of last week's football game onto the athletics department's homepage. 100% something we can do. I would recommend just including a link to that page in this text field. That will help our team complete your ticket and get that ready for you. We'll have it ready for you more quickly that way. For today, though, what I'm going to do is just type out training ticket. Now, along with that, you're also going to have an area here where it says attachments where you could actually upload that video as well. From here, what I'm going to do next is I go in, I press submit. I can view the status of this ticket here as well by going in and selecting open ticket as well. And that way we can check the status of this too. And the neat thing is, everybody, is that tech support is going to be available to you Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. Eastern all the way up until 3 a.m. in the morning.